you certainly hope if you talk to the other Big Ten coaches, I got to talk to plenty of my friends that are coaches from around the league this weekend. And I mean, everybody fears Indiana still. Like they're a little bit on the edge of what's Mike Woodson going to be able to do with this, because everyone feels like from a coaching perspective across the country, other coaches feel like Indiana has the pieces to be really, really good. And, that's a fun feeling to be able to sit here in July and talk about. But just hopefully they can put it all together. It seems to, and coaches are not overlooking Indiana like you might think they have, because the record hasn't been that great. Like they are definitely fearful of Indiana.
They have to be. I mean, there's no way. I don't want it to sound again homerish. That's the thing I hate more than anything. But they've got one of the best transfer classes in all of basketball.
Right.
They've got some of the best transfer players in all of basketball with Mgbako, Rice, and Carlisle. They've added perfect pieces to a team that was missing pieces like that. The only thing is shooting. That is still going to be a question mark. And it's not that they didn't add some shooting with Luke Goody. You would expect, I'm assuming, to see a big jump by Mackenzie Mgbako, who finished the year kind of finding his groove a bit.
Right.
And I expect him to kind of hit the season in groove after getting past the opening of his freshman year and getting through learning what it's like to play at that level, what it's learning like to play in Big Ten games, et cetera, et cetera. And the fact that he has those guards that will alter things for him. It's going to make it easier for those guys.
Yeah, you are spot on with that. Like I truly believe, Indiana's point guard position is it's going to be a battle to see who's on the floor. There's going to be guys fighting for minutes. I think your point I think we all feel like Malik Reneau is going to have, he's going to be better than he was last year, which he was much better than he was as a freshman. Like, I think we feel like he's going to be that on the floor leader that we need. And is all good teams seem to have that guy. And so we don't talk that much about Malik because we kind of expect greatness from him as it is. But I think you're right. I think the guy that's going to be the difference maker for Indiana is Mgbako. And if Mgbako has a great season, then I think we'll be saying those words are synonymous with being able to say, Indiana had a great run or played really well or was really hard to beat, because Mgbako is that guy. Mgbako is going to be a pro. Like he's just different. It's hard to explain. He might not be the best college player in the world. Eric Gordon wasn't the best college player in the world, but he's a 15, 16-year pro. Mgbako's got that chance of being a 15, 16-year pro. And so, is it? Yeah, it's up there. And so, you look at
him and Conley both, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. Like it's totally amazing. But when you look at Mgbako's jump for this season, I think when he started the year out, I don't think any fan or coach or anyone that watched Indiana regularly would disagree with. He looked uncomfortable. He didn't seem to fit in. He couldn't get it going. Like he never had that little spark. And then I'll say, after maybe January 15th, something kind of clicked with him and he kind of got it. And his confidence level towards the end of the season, and I don't just mean shooting the ball. He was taking it to the basket. He was doing a lot of other things that it takes to win. And, that's not something a freshman always makes that jump. So to your point, I really think Mgbako is going to be a super big key piece how successful Indiana is. I don't think I'm stating anything other than the obvious there, but I'm overemphasizing it because I think he's that important to them. Pieces in the guards and Omar Ballo and all that are going to be huge. But I think it's going to come back at the end of the year to Mgbako and Reneau, and that's going to determine how successful IU is.
And then a big question is Reneau and Umar Ballo playing together. We know we're going to see it. I don't know that it's something that a lot of Indiana fans want to see, but it depends on how. To me, Reneau is going to be in the offense. Is he going to camp out in the paint? like it has been. If that's the case, I'm not sure how good this is going to be for Indiana's offense for those two guys to be in the paint where, again, you cannot lose games 3-2. And that's been that's been a problem for Indiana over the last couple of years, getting beat 3-2 basically. And by that, I mean getting beat because they're not putting up the 3-point shots that other teams are putting up now. And while Renew is capable of shooting that shot, that's not why he's in the game.
Yeah, no, it's not. And I don't, when I say this, I don't mean from the 3-point line, but I think Omar Ballo's presence at Indiana, like, look, he's not changing how he plays. Like, and Indiana's not going to try to change him and how he plays. He is going to camp out in the middle, and he is going to clog up the middle and be in there. That's a fact. When he's on the floor, that's where he's going to be. He's not spreading the floor out. That's for sure. But I do think this is an opportunity for both Indiana and especially Malik Renew to expand his game a little bit and let him play a little bit more, I'll call it facing the basket. It doesn't need to be from the 3-point line, maybe 17 feet. If he can develop a little mid-range game, he can already shoot the 3-pointer pretty well. And so I don't think that they will dissuade him from shooting that. But I don't think it's going to be a big part of the offense for Malik. But I do think that him spreading the floor and playing outside of the paint, which is great for him. We all know he wants to play in the NBA. That's the ultimate goal for all of these players. And his role in the NBA is going to be facing the basket a little bit more. And so this is a great opportunity. I'm sure this was a selling point for getting him to come back, is he gets to develop his game a little bit and be a little bit, adds another piece to what the pros are already excited about what he can do in the NBA. So those guys will play together quite a bit. I also, if you watched Arizona play very much over the last 2 years, Omar Ballo is not a guy that plays extended minutes. Like, he's like a 20 to 24 minute guy.
Yes. And I don't see that going up at Indiana because Indiana is so much deeper this year.
Well, and I don't think it needs to. Like, I think that's probably what he's recruited as. If he plays in the NBA, that's what he's going to be at in the NBA. Like, I don't think they're going to try to turn him into – Zach Edey was a freak. Like, that's a dude that could play 36, 38 minutes a game at his size. Donovan Clingan couldn't come close to doing that. Like, he was more of a 26 to 32 minute guy. And so I think that's where we're going to be with Omar Ballo. I think he's going to be a guy that plays the mid minutes, which is great. I think that works out terrific for Indiana. If Kalel Ware, you wanted to keep him on the floor as long as possible, as long as he wasn't in foul trouble. And so that, I don't want to use clog up because that means I'm talking about the middle, but I mean, that took up minutes of players on the floor. And I think Omar Ballo gives you the opportunity to, one, play two big guys together that we know, or we've definitely seen what Mike Woodson likes to do. But on the other side of that, it also gives Indiana a chance to go faster and smaller because we know he's not going to play, 16 minutes out of every half. And so I'm excited at how these guys are going to fit together and play together. Coach Woodson has a great problem to have, and that is he's got a lot of players that probably deserve to be on the floor, and it's going to be fun to try to figure out who gets to end up being there.
Well, something, and I've already mentioned, but I'll mention again, is the guards for Indiana. Not only is it extraordinarily deeper than it was last year, we're not talking about just being deeper. We're talking about Kanan Carlisle is currently set ahead as an NBA draft pick next year, ahead of Mackenzie Mgbako. So that has to be a great confidence booster for this team, in addition to knowing that Rice also, wasn't he the Pac-12 freshman of the year last year? Or was it Carlisle? So. I get him confused. But anyway.
But they're both used to playing
very
big
good.
Minutes. Yep, and they are. And they're used to playing big minutes. And so, like, if you just it's what us nerds do in the summertime. But if you just sit down and try to figure out who's going to be on the floor for Indiana, well, that's not an easy.
I've done it, and it gives you a headache.
It does. I mean, you see the problem that Mike Woodson's going to have. I mean, Trey Galloway, when he's healthy, I mean, he's been in the past a 36-plus minute a game guy.
That is no way that can happen this year. That's not possible.
We can say that now, but you don't know how things are going to play out. I will say this: I'm in agreement with your statement, unless there's a dramatic improvement in his game. If he develops a very, very not just consistent but accurate and high percentage jump shot, it's very difficult to keep a guy like Trey Galloway off the floor.
Yeah, well, exactly, because Mike Woodson has shown he is loyal to the guys that have been there. Obviously, Trey Galloway has been there for a long time, played a ton of minutes last year and out of position at times, and did what was needed of him for the team. But actually, that team probably overachieved last year with what they had to work with as far as guard play and all of that after the injuries. They probably overachieved. I mean, you've got a guy that's playing out of position in Trey Galloway, just doing whatever he could to help out, and Gabe Cupps, who was forced into duty, not quite ready for it. So Indiana was a team that was playing without a full complement of what they needed. This year, right now, that does not appear to be the case, and it appears to be more so than what they need.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with they overachieved. I mean, if they'd have made the tournament, maybe you can make that statement. It's hard to say a team that did not make the tournament overachieved. But I know what you're saying, and I get where you're coming from. Just the way things played out, it sounds like we're just crying wolf out here saying injuries, changed the whole dynamic of last year's team. But injuries changed the whole dynamic of last year's team. And they were never capable or even close to capable of reaching their potential because of injuries and the time of when they happened. But I'll also say, and I say it every time, every team across the country at some point seems to deal with injuries. And so you can't really use that as an excuse. Yes, this team seems to be incredibly deep at more positions than what they were last year. And, it's going to take an improvement from guys that were there last year. They're going to have to get better in order to see, even close to the same minutes that they saw last year on the floor. Gabe Cupps, Trey Galloway in particular, those two guys are going to have a pretty dramatic improvement in their game in their respective years for where they are at Indiana in order to see significant minutes on the floor. And I'm not saying that to badmouth anybody. I hope that comes across as a positive. It means Indiana's deep. But I'll also say this. I think we've said that exact same thing about Trey Galloway for the last 2 years, and somehow he's just that dude you can't keep off the floor because he makes plays. And so hopefully injury doesn't factor into it there, but, Indiana's got the pieces like that. As I told you, it was brought up to me with all my other friends that are coaches. So I try to not be a super homer IU guy, but these coaches all brought it up to me, and they know Indiana's roster. They know how they would be. They sit there and play these games, I think, when they're on their plane or flying or talking to their assistant coaches of where they would piece guys in if they were coaching Indiana or whatever. And so I think it's been thought of more than what you might guess.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and thank you for enjoying our content and videos. And make sure you hit that subscribe and notifications toggle so you don't miss out on anything, whether it's Indiana Hoosiers, the Boilers, the Colts, the Pacers, Indiana high school action, whatever's happening in sports. We're trying to bring it all to you, and make sure you don't miss out on a thing. Again, hit the subscribe button for us. Helps us out a ton. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much.